Going through difficulty can actually enhance your capacity to enjoy God, not only now, but in eternity.
So I don't typically struggle with this other than when I read it, but Job, why would God basically serve up Job to Satan and say, have your way?
Well, he didn't say have your way completely. He put barriers around
other than
him.
dying.
Right. Well, Satan is on a leash, and he still is on a leash. He only allows Satan to do so much. What happened to Job when he went through all that?
He lost everything and then regained it?
Yeah, he didn't regain everything of his family.
Well,
but yes.
replace, sort of.
He was recompensed to a certain extent. But he became actually more of a follower of the Lord than before. Going through difficulty can actually enhance your capacity to enjoy God, not only now, but in eternity. Job said, when he tries me, I will come forth as gold. In fact, I know this can be a hard concept to get a hold of, but the same question can be asked of, why did God allow Satan to do any of this? Why does God allow us to do evil? You ever ask yourself that question? In fact, I was at Michigan State a number of years ago, and an atheist asked me this question. He said, if there is a good God, why doesn't he stop all the evil in the world? And I said to him, maybe because if he did, he might start with you and me, because we do evil every day. Yeah. You ever notice that when we start complaining about evil, we always complain about somebody else doing it? God, why don't you stop him? God, why don't you stop her? God, why don't you stop the shooter? Why don't you stop Hitler? Why don't you stop this? We never ask God, why don't you stop me? Ladies and gentlemen, if God were to stop evil at midnight tonight, would you still be alive at 12:01? None of us would be. So God has Satan on a leash, but he allows free will in Satan and allows free will in us, because if he doesn't allow free will, this is not a moral universe. If he stops every evil that we want to do, then we don't really have any moral choices. And so he allows it to continue. However, he can redeem it. And this is a hard concept to get a hold of, but think about it this way. Redemption is better than innocence. People will say, why does God take us right to heaven? Because redemption's better than innocence. Look, if you never sin, that's good. But if you sin, that's bad. Yet, if God can redeem you and pull you out of that, you now appreciate God more than if you stayed in innocence. That relationship is stronger now because you've learned the danger of sin and the glory of God's grace and forgiveness. So your relationship with him is deeper than it was if you had never sinned.
But wouldn't it be better if you just never sinned at all? I mean, wasn't that the original point?
It would be. This is why this is a hard concept to get our minds around. The answer is, I know it's going to sound odd, but yes and no. If you had never sinned, you're innocent. That's a good thing, obviously. But yet, if you do sin, as I said, that's a bad thing, but you can be brought to a greater height of appreciation of God because you've gone through that difficulty and God rescued you from it. Like if you have a friend, just an average friend, okay, you have maybe a strong relationship, but what happens if that friend saves your life somehow? You suddenly have a deeper relationship with that friend than you had prior to that because he pulled you out of a pit. So God can bring good from evil and greater good. This is why Paul says at the end of 2 Corinthians 4, he says, our light and momentary afflictions are achieving for us a greater weight of glory that far outweighs them all. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, for what is seen is temporary. We fix our eyes on what is unseen, for what is unseen is eternal. Translation, you're enhancing your capacity to enjoy God by going through difficulty than you would if you had never. Maybe here's another way of looking at it. Do you know people that have lived a charmed life, nothing ever goes wrong for them? How deep are these people? Do you know celebrities that get everything they want all the time? People fall all over themselves. You want your water at 41.6 degrees? Oh, I'll get it for you. Oh, you want this, you want that? What happens when they're inconvenienced. They pitch a hissy fit. Why? Because their character has been shrunk by the fact that people fall all over them. They don't have any difficulty in their life. What happens to a child that gets everything they want? What do we call that child? Spoiled. Why? What's spoiled about them? Their character's spoiled. You give a kid everything he wants, you're going to destroy the kid. We need difficulty in our lives, in our fallen state. We need trouble to a certain extent. Because when you go through trouble, you actually, if you are redeemed, you're going to get to a higher state, a stronger relationship than if the trouble never came along. And so, the best example is Jesus himself. Jesus learned obedience through suffering. Obedience through suffering. He didn't even have a sin nature. He learns obedience through suffering. If he learns obedience through suffering, what about us? So, I know evil is a difficult concept, but I think redemption's better than innocence, and that's why God allows it to go forward.